So last week, Eric and I beat Paper Mario the Origami King, and it was alright. I mean, seriously, we generally enjoyed it, and without going too much into spoilery territory, I will say the game had a lot of great stuff. There were tons of charming characters, dialogue that actually made us laugh out loud, and super catchy music. But at some point while we were playing, I was finally struck with the realization of why Paper Mario is less enjoyable for me nowadays. They freaking explain everything that you have to do, constantly. Now listen, I know new Nintendo games are too easy isn't exactly the most cutting-edge statement anyone's ever made, but I'm not trying to say Origami King is too easy. In fact, they made a major change to the battle system that made the game harder for us and for a lot of the streamers that I watch. No, not that kind of streamer. This kind of streamer.
I mean, this is not good, but it's something.
I don't know, man. I don't know about this one.
I did nothing. What I'm doing right here literally has done nothing.
So yes, there are new challenges in the more recent Paper Mario games, and I do think some people really love being challenged in that way. But for me, my favorite obstacles in the game that I grew up with, Thousand Year Door, were times when I had to sit and think about what I needed to do next. Basically, when I was a kid, my brother and I didn't equip the cricket sound effects badge because we thought it was dumb, and then we couldn't figure out how to beat Hooktail, and I distinctly remember falling asleep one night and bolting up saying, "The hammer can sound like crickets!" and I've been chasing that high ever since. I think the problem for me comes down to the way each game explains things and teaches you new skills. So let's take a look at that. Each game in the Paper Mario series has its own set of mechanics, some more than others, but that's not what this video is about. One of the first mechanics you gain in Thousand Year Door is the airplane ability. Here's what it looks like the first time you use it. You just go on the plane panel. But how did you know to get there? No one's explaining it to you. Well, that weird purple box ghost guy did explain it to you several minutes ago when he cursed you. You just have to remember things for more than 10 seconds. See, this is the way that game mechanics are introduced in the older Paper Mario games. You get honestly sort of a wall of text when you acquire an ability, and then later you're expected to apply that knowledge on your own. Explanations also tend to be optional. If you want them, you can ask Goombario, Goombella, or Tippy, but in many situations you're encouraged to figure things out yourself. In more recent games, however, explanations are forced upon you at the exact moment where you need them. In Origami King, you have to learn how to use confetti to progress. Same thing with the paint mechanic in Color Splash. And this may sound like a good thing, like, oh yay, it's part of the story, you get to learn a new ability without kind of getting taken out of the game, but for me, it just makes it less satisfying to use a new ability. I honestly probably won't mention Super Paper Mario very much in this video because it's kind of unmemorable for me, but I actually think that Super Paper Mario did this best. When you get the ability to flip dimensions, for example, you can do it right then and there and find some extra items, but it's not necessary for the progression of the game. Then, when you actually need to use the mechanic for the first time, no one hops out and says, "Hey, wow, it looks like we can't get to this door. I don't know what we're gonna do. If only we could, I don't know, flip dimensions?" No, you just have to think back to what you learned like a couple of minutes ago. Now, in the field of pedagogy, we talk about what's called Bloom's... Whoa, hang on. Why are you down there? Down where? In the office with the educational video background. Is this an educational video now? I mean, we did put Explained with Science in the title, and Paper Mario is an RPG with puzzle elements, so I feel like theories relating to how we acquire knowledge could be relevant to the reasons that people I just wanted to rant about video games. I don't want to learn stuff. I don't care about whatever. Okay, chill. I just wanted to tell them about Bloom's taxonomy. Oh, like how the older games allow the player to analyze, evaluate, and apply their knowledge, but the new games barely expect you to remember things? Yeah. Okay, that's a pretty good idea. Carry on. Thank you. In pedagogy, we often use Bloom's taxonomy to classify the different levels of difficulty when you're learning something new. The lowest level is remembering, which of course is important, but it's pretty boring. If you've ever taken a science or history class where all the tests are focused on reciting specific formulas or dates without any practical application, you know what I'm talking about. This is what getting a new ability in Origami King or Color Splash feels like to me. Like if you took a test where you had to remember specific dates, but before each question your teacher told you the answer, so you only had to remember it for a short amount of time. Sure, you passed the test, but it's not very engaging. In the older games, you're forced to move up the pyramid a bit. Not only do you have to remember how the mechanic works for a little bit longer, but you also have to analyze and evaluate situations and apply your knowledge to move ahead. This not only makes acquiring a new skill more interesting, but honestly I think it helps the new ability stick better too. Like, if you're in a German class where you just recite vocabulary words, sure, you'll probably remember some of them, but if you actually have to apply that knowledge in a German conversation, you're much more likely to retain it. Paper Mario's battle mechanics have evolved greatly from game to game, and even though I could do a whole video just ranting about battle cards, the focus of this video is explanation. So let's talk about how enemies get explained. I genuinely think they nailed it on the first try with this one. In the first game, the first partner you meet is Goombario, who can give you hints throughout the game and specifically can point you in the right direction during a battle. For the next two games, Goombella and Tippy do pretty much the same thing. I love this because you can try to find a boss's weakness on your own, but if you're really struggling, you can spend one of your moves to get a tip. Color Splash takes an even more hands-off approach, with Huey staying silent during most battles, which I really don't have a problem with. But Origami King, oh my gosh, Olivia, shut up! You seriously can't get through a single major battle in this game without Olivia heavily hinting at how to beat a boss. It's absurd. Like, in a well-designed battle, you should be able to piece together how to beat a boss. Maybe it's a weird glowy thing on their head, or a hatred of crickets. Maybe you have to pay attention to your surroundings. But I just think it's more fun and satisfying if you have to notice your enemy's weakness. And this hand-holding throughout the battles has negative repercussions later in the game. Hey, I was gonna say that. Yeah, but I think it can be explained better by telling them about Krashen's input hypothesis. Okay, go for it. So the input hypothesis is generally used in reference to language learning, but I think it can be applied in lots of situations. Basically, it states that in order to learn effectively, a student needs to receive input that is equal to I plus 1, where the I equals the existing knowledge and 1 equals... One of the criticisms of the input hypothesis is that no one really knows what 1 equals. But basically it means that newly introduced material should only be slightly harder than what the learner already knows. You can't show up to your first piano lesson and expect to leave playing Mozart. Okay, that doesn't count. Anyway, in most of the games, you get to sharpen your observation and battle skills a little bit more with each fight because they progressively get harder. But throughout Origami King, we're being served I plus 0.25 at best, because even though each boss is unique and you get to beat each one in a fun way, you never have to figure out how to beat them because Olivia just tells you. I don't even think I need to mark this for spoilers because Olivia spoils it. It's not a spoiler when you don't have to figure it out yourself. Anyway. So no boss is necessarily harder than the previous boss. They're just different. Then suddenly in the final boss, oh, by the way, I'm going to talk about the final boss of Origami King, so if you want to skip that, I put timestamps in the progress bar and in the description below, so skip ahead if you want. Anyway, in the final boss, we suddenly get I plus like 1,000 because our I is already pretty low because we haven't really been learning any new skills that can be applied later in the game. And then they throw this unscrambling puzzle on us out of nowhere. We've only had to solve like one of these before, and there's a time limit. At first I was like, okay, maybe Eric and I are just dumb and that's why it took us a while to figure out this puzzle, but I have yet to see a single streamer who was able to figure this out on the first try.
Oh man, okay. Wow, I see. This is gonna be super annoying. Wait, what? Already?
No. Oh, I rotated all the way. Oh no, the gas. What? You gotta be joking, kidding me.
Vinny, it's upside down. Oh, you're right, it is upside down. It's time to rotate! I hope I don't have to do that entire fight again.
This puzzle arguably isn't even that hard, but the game gives us so few opportunities to practice this sort of thing that the final boss is basically setting you up to fail at least once. It's like if you took a Spanish class where all you did for 2 months was practice hi, how are you, and my name is, and then for the final test you have to write a 5-paragraph essay about Don Quixote. Oh, and you only have a minute or I'll poison you. Okay, in case you haven't noticed, I'm a nerd. So my favorite aspect of any Paper Mario game is the puzzles. I like to be a little confused, or even a lot confused, about how to get past part of a game. The first 3 games have loads of little puzzles, which are mostly hands-off, and if they do give you a hint, it's usually optional. In these games, you have to use your partner's abilities to get out of difficult situations. I remember anytime my brother and I got stuck on Thousand Year Door, we would walk around the area looking for flurry spots and bomb spots. I know this probably sounds tedious to some people, but to a 12-year-old with all the time in the world, it just made everything feel more rewarding. Color Splash, once again, takes a pretty hands-off approach. If you're stuck, you probably need to do one of those cutout things, and good luck, because there's pretty much no consistent way to tell if you can cut out something. I guess just friggin' walk around and press Y until you figure it out. Origami King, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. Are you stuck on Origami King? Wait, really? You are? Because I don't think you are. Were you not paying attention like 10 seconds ago when Olivia pointed out the very obvious 1,000-fold arms spot? You never have to figure anything out in Origami King because everything's explained to you as soon as a problem arises. There are a few actual puzzles throughout the game, but if you mess up on them like twice, it automatically gives you the solution. Like, this game would be so much better if you could just select like an easy mode or a hard mode or something. Oh hey, you know what that makes me think of? What? The comprehensible output hypothesis. Alright, do your thing. The comprehensible output hypothesis is another hypothesis to explain language acquisition, but again, I think it can apply here as well. Basically, it suggests that in order to learn something, a student has to notice if they don't know something, experiment to fill that knowledge gap, and reflect on what they learned. I mostly want to focus on the experimenting part because this is what the first couple of games do so well. You have to try multiple approaches to things or sit there and think for a while before solving certain puzzles. In my opinion, Color Splash's hands-off nature is a bit too much in this regard. You can't notice a problem if you don't know what to look for. I'm looking at you, cutout spots. Actually, I'm not looking at you because you blend in with the background. Origami King has the opposite problem. You don't need to notice anything. Like on the light up path in the Fire of Elemental Cave. When we did this section, I think Eric made a genuine mistake on his first try, and we noticed that the game immediately started leaving the blocks lit up for a longer period of time. On his second try, he accidentally fell, and it started showing the path in the right order instead of in reverse order. We messed up twice, and it changed that drastically. It took away any satisfaction that we could have gotten from getting past that section. As I mentioned earlier, this isn't the only time that puzzles just get solved for you. The player never has to experiment or learn anything new because anytime there's a slight knowledge gap, it immediately goes away. This, at least for me personally, makes the puzzle super boring. It's sort of like how if my students make a mistake on an essay, I don't just correct the problem for them. I give them a push in the right direction to recognize and correct the mistake on their own. Hopefully it makes them feel like they earned their grade on a final draft, and theoretically it helps them learn from their errors. But there are definitely good aspects of the new Paper Mario games too, right? Oh yeah, absolutely. Like you said earlier, the music is phenomenal. Yeah, and like, I know I've been crapping on Olivia, but I actually love her as a character. I just wish the developers hadn't shoved her in where I didn't need a hint, but as a character, she's super cute and funny. Yeah, I genuinely don't want to come off like old woman yells at cloud over here. Basically, my theory is that lots of people, myself included, enjoy Paper Mario because you get to learn new skills and apply them to overcome obstacles, and I just feel like that aspect isn't as strong in the newer games. But I get that games change, and some people really like the changes that have been made. It's just that some of those changes aren't all that effective for me. But I really did like Origami King, and I seriously think it's like my third favorite game in the series now. So like seriously, I encourage you to check it out and see what you think for yourself. But yeah, these are just my thoughts about Origami King and a little bit of Color Splash. If you played Origami King, let me know what you thought of it in the comments below. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe because I put videos out every other Friday about music, media, linguistics, and whatever else is on my mind that week. Thanks so much for watching. See ya. Anyway, in most of the games you get to... Wah!